Good morning, walking sleepers. Today there's a story called The Three Fishes. It's from a beautiful book called Tales of the Dervishes, teaching stories of the Sufi Masters over the last 1,000 years by Idries Shah. I was first introduced to this book, and when I was starting, I was leaving college and going to medical school, and I was buying used books. And I was talking with a colleague of mine trying to decide which anatomy book to buy. And there was a really nice one, kind of nice and shiny, kind of expensive or whatever. And I was commenting on hey, this is a nice looking one to my friend. And this old guy standing next to me, you know, the difference in the books was one was newer and the other one was older. And so this old guy next to me kind of like sniffs, he goes, "Anatomy hasn't changed that much now, has it?" And I thought, well, that's a good point. Anatomy has not changed. At any rate, on the table was this book, and I opened it up, and it was The Tale of the Sands. And I remember like it was yesterday, feeling sad because I knew I was not going to be able to that was not going to be my life, even though it was so beautiful, and it spoke to me. At any rate, 20 years later, out of nowhere, the book was prescribed for me. And now 20 years after that, I'm still reading it. And now I'm reading it to you. This is called The Three Fishes. And these stories are extraordinary for, you know, I went into psychiatry, so I studied the mind. And these are about the mind. These are about your mind. These are stories about teaching and learning. And they should be approached as such. And it's not; these things will not reveal their power if you don't apply yourself at least somewhat to trying to grok them. And these are different than the Mullah Nasruddin, and different than other teaching stories. This one, it happens to be a Naqshbandi one. Remember, Sufism precedes Islam by a long time, and we can go into that kind of thing later. So anyway, this is a story called The Three Fishes. Three fishes once lived in a pool. They were a clever fish, a half-clever fish, and a stupid fish. Life continued for them very much as it is for fishes everywhere until one day came a man. He was carrying a net, and the clever fish saw him through the water. Calling upon his experience, the stories he had heard, and his cleverness, he decided to take action. He saw the man with the net, and he said, "I got to do something about this." So he said, there are a few places to hide in this pool, he thought. Therefore, I shall play dead. There are few places to hide in this pool, he thought. I shall therefore play dead. He summoned his strength and jumped out of the pool, landing at the feet of the fisherman, who was rather surprised. But as the clever fish was holding his breath, the fisherman supposed that he was dead and threw him back. This fish now glided back into a small hole under the bank. Now the second fish, the half-clever one, did not quite understand what had happened. So he swam up to the clever fish and asked him all about it. "Simple," said the clever fish. "I played dead, so he threw me back." So the half-clever fish immediately leaped out of the water at the fisherman's feet. "Strange," thought the fisherman. "They are leaping about all over the place." And because the half-clever fish had forgotten to hold his breath, the fisherman realized that he was alive and put him in his satchel. He turned back to peer into the water, and because he'd been slightly confused by the fish's... Okay, this is the man. The man turned back to peer into the water, and because he'd been slightly confused by the fish's jumping onto dry land in front of him, because he'd been slightly confused by the fish's jumping on dry land in front of him, he did not close the flap to his bag. The half-clever fish when he realized this, was just able to ease himself out, and flipping over and over, got back in the water. He sought out the first fish and lay panting beside him, presumably in that indentation. So the second fish, the half-clever fish, jumped out, forgot to hold his breath, and the fisherman put him into his satchel. That word satchel is strange for an American. Okay. But he managed to get out because the satchel was not tied closed, and jumped in the water and then joined the first fish in that embankment. Now the third fish, the stupid one, was not able to make anything at all of this, even when he heard the first and second fish's versions. So they went over every point with him, stressing the importance of not breathing in order to play dead. "Thank you so much. Now I understand," said the stupid fish. With these words, he hurled himself out of the water, landing just beside the fisherman. Now the fisherman, having lost 2 fish already, put this one into his bag without bothering to look at whether it was breathing or not. He cast the net again and again into the pool, but the first 2 fish were crouched into the depression under the bank, and the flap on the fisherman's bag this time was fully closed. Finally, the fisherman gave up. He opened the bag, realized that the stupid fish was not breathing, and took him home for the cat. Now, I'm not that bright, but I've profited from this thing now for 40, 50 years. And I'm endorsing it, okay? Just a note at the end of this, for completeness. It is related that Hussein, the grandson of Muhammad, transmitted this teaching story to the Sufi Masters, who in the 14th century changed their name to the Naqshbandi order. Sometimes the action takes place in a world known as Karatas, the country of the black stone. This version is from Abdal, the transformed one, Afifi. He heard it from Sheikh Muhammad Asghar, who died in 1813. His shrine is in Delhi. Forgive me for not doing a good job of reading the story. You should read it yourselves, obviously. And so if you have any questions about that, you might let me know, but spend some time with it, quite a bit of time with it, before you resort to that. Okay, I hope that helps.